Hello, my dear students. I welcome you all in chemistry class. Today, I am going to discuss about salts. Well, students, we know that an acid is a substance which dissociates on dissolving in water to produce hydrogen ions in the solution. And simply we can say that these are those substances which give hydrogen ions in the solution. And bases, these are those substances which give hydroxide ions in the solution. Okay, or we can say that a base is a substance which dissociates on dissolving in water to produce hydroxide ions. And salts are the ionic compounds consisting of two parts. One part carrying a positive charge and the other part carrying a negative charge. The number of positive and negative ions present is such that total positive charge is equal to total negative charge, so that the salt as a whole is the electrically neutral, or we can say that salts are electrically neutral. Students, salts are the compounds which are produced after the neutralization reaction between acid and base. Now, what is neutralization reaction? When an acid reacts with a base, then salt and water are formed. Or we can say that when acid is treated with a base, the base neutralizes the acid and destroys its acidity. Since an acid and base neutralize each other's effect, the reaction between an acid and a base to form the salt and water is called neutralization reaction. For example, when hydrochloric acid reacts with sodium hydroxide solution, then a neutralization reaction takes place to form sodium chloride and water. HCl plus NaOH, it gives NaCl plus water. This is an example of neutralization reaction. In this reaction, sodium hydroxide base and hydrochloric acid neutralize each other to form sodium chloride salt, which is neither acidic nor basic. It is neutral in nature. Now, it is clear that salts are formed when acids react with bases. Or we can say that a salt has two parents, an acid and a base. So, the name of salt consists of two parts. The first part of the name of salt is derived from the name of the base, and the second part of the name of salt comes from the name of acid. For example, the name of salt called sodium chloride comes from the sodium hydroxide base and hydrochloric acid. Now let's move to the types of salts. Well, students, salts can be categorized into the three types: neutral, acidic and basic salts. Now let's start with the neutral salt. Salts produced because of reaction between a strong acid and strong base are neutral in nature, and the pH of such salts is equal to 7. That is neutral. For example, sodium chloride, sodium sulfate, potassium chloride, etc. For example, sodium chloride. It is formed after the reaction between hydrochloric acid, a strong acid, and sodium hydroxide, a strong base. Similarly, sodium sulfate is formed by the reaction between sodium hydroxide, a strong base, and sulfuric acid, a strong acid. And KCl, it is formed by the reaction between potassium hydroxide, a strong base, and hydrochloric acid, a strong acid. Well, students, when equally strong acid and base react with each other. Then they fully neutralize each other. Due to this, a neutral salt is formed and their pH is almost equal to 7. And basic salts are formed after the reaction between a weak acid and a strong base. For example, sodium carbonate, sodium acetate, etc. Sodium carbonate is formed after the reaction between sodium hydroxide, which is a strong base, and carbonic acid, which is a weak acid. H2CO3 plus 2 moles of NaOH reacts to give Na2CO3 plus water. Na2CO3 is a basic salt. Similarly, sodium acetate is formed after the reaction between a strong base, sodium hydroxide, and a weak acid, acetic acid. And students, when a strong base reacts with a weak acid, the acid is unable to fully neutralize the base. Due to this, a basic salt is formed. I hope it is clear to all of you. And acidic salts are formed after the reaction between a strong acid and weak base. The value of acidic salt is lower than 7. For example, ammonium sulfate, ammonium chloride. Ammonium chloride is formed after the reaction between hydrochloric acid, a strong acid, and ammonium hydroxide, which is a weak base. Similarly, ammonium sulfate is formed after the reaction between ammonium hydroxide, a weak acid, and sulfuric acid, which is a strong acid. And students, when a strong acid reacts with the weak base, the base is unable to fully neutralize the acid. Due to this, an acidic salt is formed. Okay, students? Thank you, students, and have a nice day.